An older CEO was left alone at dinner, then a single dad changed everything. Margaret Whitfield had built an empire from nothing, but on the night her whole world came crashing down over a white tablecloth and 2 untouched glasses of wine, none of her billions could save her from the one thing money could never buy, someone to sit across from her. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that a stranger's small act can change everything, hit that like button right now, drop a comment below, share this video with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so you never miss a story like this one. The restaurant was the kind of place where reservations were booked months in advance, where chandeliers dripped golden light onto marble floors, and where every waiter knew exactly how to disappear the moment you needed silence. Margaret had chosen it herself, for a very particular reason. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration. 30 years ago, on this exact date, she had signed the papers that turned a failing textile company into what would eventually become one of the largest logistics firms on the East Coast. 30 years of 18-hour days, of missed birthdays, of board meetings that swallowed holidays whole. She had built something extraordinary. And she had built it alone. Her husband had passed away 11 years earlier, quietly, in a hospital bed while she was on a conference call in the waiting room, closing a deal that no longer mattered to her the moment the machines went silent. Her only son lived across the country, and their conversations had shrunk over the years into obligatory phone calls on holidays, each one shorter and more distant than the last. Tonight, she had invited him. She had told herself he would come, that this milestone would matter enough to bring him home. But an hour before the reservation, her phone had buzzed with a text. Something had come up at work. He was sorry. He would call her tomorrow. So there she sat, in her navy blazer and pearl necklace, her silver hair catching the chandelier light, at a table set for 2, with only 1 chair occupied. She ordered a glass of wine she didn't drink. She smoothed the napkin in her lap for the 3rd time. Around her, the restaurant buzzed with laughter, with couples leaning close, with families passing plates and stories. She watched it all with the practiced stillness of a woman who had spent decades not letting her face betray what she felt inside. But inside, something was breaking. All the empire, all the awards, all the magazine covers with her name in bold print, and in this moment she felt smaller than she had in years, because none of it had bought her a single person who wanted to be here with her tonight. It was then that she noticed them. A man, maybe in his early 30s, walked in holding the hand of a little girl no older than 5, her curly hair tied back with a pink bow that matched her dress. He wore a simple light blue shirt and jeans, clearly out of place among the tailored suits, but he moved through the room without a trace of self-consciousness, his attention entirely on his daughter, who was chattering excitedly about something Margaret couldn't hear. The hostess seated them 2 tables away, close enough that Margaret could watch the way he leaned down to listen to every word the girl said, the way he laughed, not a polite laugh, but a real one, the kind that came from somewhere deep and unguarded. Margaret found herself watching them more than she meant to. There was something about the ease between them, the total presence he gave his daughter, that struck a nerve she didn't know was still raw. She thought of her own son at that age, and how many dinners she had missed, how many bedtime stories had been read by a nanny instead of by her. She turned back to her wine, blinking hard, and told herself it didn't matter anymore. What she didn't expect was for the man to notice her. Somewhere between the appetizer and the main course, his daughter had asked him a question, loud enough this time for Margaret to catch a few words, asking why the pretty lady at the other table looked so sad and why she was sitting all by herself. Margaret felt her cheeks flush with something between embarrassment and grief. She hadn't realized her mask had slipped. But instead of shushing his daughter or offering an awkward apologetic glance and looking away, the man did something Margaret hadn't expected from anyone in a very long time. He stood up, took his daughter's small hand in his, and walked toward her table. He introduced himself simply as Marcus, and his daughter as Zoe. He said he hoped he wasn't intruding, but Zoe had insisted that nobody should eat dinner alone, especially not on what looked like an important night. Margaret, caught completely off guard, found herself explaining before she could stop the words, that it was the anniversary of the company she built, that her son couldn't make it, that she supposed she was more used to being alone than she liked to admit. She braced herself for pity, for the kind of polite sympathy powerful people usually received from strangers who wanted something from them. Instead, Marcus simply asked if they could join her. They talked for nearly 2 hours. Marcus told her about raising Zoe on his own after losing his wife 3 years earlier, about the 2 jobs he worked to keep their small apartment, about how he had promised himself that no matter how hard things got, his daughter would always know she was seen and loved, because he understood better than most what it felt like to grow up invisible. Margaret listened in a way she hadn't listened to anyone in years, not as a CEO evaluating a pitch, but as a woman remembering what genuine conversation felt like. Zoe drew pictures on the paper placemat and proudly presented one to Margaret, a lopsided sun with a smiling face, and Margaret felt tears prick her eyes at a kindness so small and so enormous at the same time. Before they left that night, Margaret did something she hadn't done in years. She asked for Marcus's number, not out of obligation, but because for the first time in a long time, she wanted to see someone again. What began as an accidental dinner became a standing Sunday tradition, then quiet visits to Zoe's school recitals, then Margaret using her influence to help Marcus find stable work that let him spend more time at home, not because she pitied him, but because she had finally found people who reminded her why building anything mattered in the first place. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video and leave a comment below, because it truly means the world to this channel and helps these stories reach more people who need them. Before we go, I want you to do one small thing. If you believe that no one should ever feel forgotten, type the word kindness in the comments below. Margaret Whitfield never forgot that night at the restaurant, the night a single father and his little girl reminded a woman who had everything that the most valuable thing in this world was never money, but simply being seen.